Hi everyone, my name is Meredith, one of the Husqvarna Viking educators, and it is another month of our block of the month quilt block, making the Sweet Dreams quilt right here. So we are on month number 4. I cannot believe we are a third of the way through, almost. We'll be done. We'll be a third of the way through once we're finished with this block today. Let's recap what we've already done. If this is your first time seeing this, you can go back and you can find the 3 previous videos where we make these first 3 sets of blocks and then come back to this one or start here. You can really do them in any order you like. So the first month in January, what we did was we did the rail fence blocks. So this is the large rail fence here. We did this block. We did the long rail fence, which is this one here. And then we did this one. What was this one called? The Inspiration Collage Rail Fence. This one right here. So this was January. And I love going back and looking at them, like, and seeing the progress each month. And then in February, we did the flying geese. So we have 2 sets of big flying geese. So this one here, I can't even get it all in camera. And then this one here, we've got 2 of those. And then we have this one. And this is the arrowhead flying geese one. And again, very large. This is going to be a pretty large quilt. And I'm really excited about it. Every time I make a new block, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so big. So those were February, were the flying geese blocks. And in March, we did the friendship star. So we have this one here. We did 3 of these friendship star blocks. And then we did this larger one. This is the double friendship star right here. So this was really fun to do as well. So for this month, we are going to be doing, it is called Stitch Motif and 9 Patches block. So it is going to be, I'll show you to you on the main quilt. It's going to be this one right here with all of these 9 patches and then the solid blocks there. So also, it is April, which is National Serger Month. So I wanted to sew this block together using my serger. You can definitely sew this block together using your sewing machine, 1/4-inch seam allowance, everything. But you can quilt with your serger as well. So I'm going to go through threading the serger and showing you how simple and easy it is to do that. And then we're going to get to making it. It's very quick, simple block. If you're just joining us along this journey this year, this will be a good one to start with as well. 9 patches are always a good, safe bet to start with. Like we did with the rail fences too, just straight lines, a couple pieces, very simple to start with, nothing too crazy. So let's get to it. I'm going to show you how to thread the serger first, and then I will get into the cutting, because you know me, I can't do anything easy and do it the way the instructions say. Obviously, I'm using a serger, not a sewing machine. So I'm going to show you some tips that I did to make it a little bit more efficient when you're making it. So let's come over here to our serger. This is the Amber Air S600. This is our top of the line serger. This is an air threader serger because it has the name Air in it. So I just wanted to show you some fun things about that. So we are going to go to stitch number 7, the 3-thread overlock narrow. And the reason I chose that one, you can probably see there's a 3-thread narrow and the 3-thread overlock. So the narrow one is more for like if you're wanting that rolled edge. So on thinner materials like a scarf material, things like that. We don't want that rolled edge, that fold over edge with our piecing. So we're going to choose the 3-thread. Let me come back up here. Number 7, the 3-thread overlock narrow. So we have that selected. And if you touch the I button right here, that's going to give you all of your information. So right here, it's going to tell us which threads we should be using, which is going to be this blue one, which is 1 needle, and then the upper and lower loopers are this aqua color and the red color here. Then if we go to I number 2, you're going to get more information. So you want to have the A plate on, which clips on right down here at the bottom, right in here. That's that one. We do want to have the cutter up. We are not going to be cutting, but we're going to have the cutter up. You want to have the stitch finger out of the way, which I have that right there out of the way. And then we're going to want this on N versus N is for more of that narrow edge overlock versus the R is more for the roll. You want your presser foot pressure at N right there as well. And then over here on I number 2, you're going to see what this stitch is for. So that's what's really neat too. You could come up in here and select, if I can get it to click, select a different one and see, oh, why would I not want one, or why do I want one versus the other? All of that information is going to be right here on the screen for you. So let's come back up here and choose stitch number 7. And I have all of my settings done except my threading. I have my one needle in the B slot, which is right here. You can see that. We are going to be using a woven medium. So I'm going to come over here and select woven medium under my fabric options. And we're going to leave everything else the same, and we're just going to thread it. So with this specific machine, you don't have to thread. I was always taught to thread from the middle out. So you start from the middle and you go to the loopers first and then the needles. But with this machine, you don't have to do that. I'm going to do it because I want to show you the air threader first, because I think that's the most fun part. To engage the air threaders down here, let me see if you can see right down here, we want to move this over, and this is just so that it knows that we want to use the air threader. So we're going to turn our hand wheel, and you're going to see these little guys come in, and you're going to hear a click. Hold on. Did you see that? So that basically connected all of the little pipes, I guess you would call them, to those slots, so that when we do the air threader, it's going to go right through there. You want to make sure you have this set that way. Otherwise, when you use the air threader, it's just going to come out right here out of these holes and not come out of the loopers where we want them. So we're going to come up here, and I have selected my red, which is my upper looper right here, and I'm going to thread that. It's up here underneath the little tab, but you guys can't see that. I'm sorry. Got it as far back as I can without hindering your view. And then we're just going to put the tail just right here in, I'm working around this camera cord, hold on, in our little slot right here. And you kind of just, hold on, I've got a cord in my way that you can't see, and my arms are bumping it. So just right in there. And you want to have sort of like a little bit of a loop too, so that it's got enough room to push it through there. What's really neat is you do not have to do one at a time. We can put both of these threads in here. So now I'm going to choose the lower looper, and we can thread both of these at the same time, y'all. This is a game changer. Let me get this right in here. And again, I have a little bit of slack, and we're just sort of just pushing it down in there. The machine does come with a wire to help you thread it if you have thicker threads or something that may be a little bit more bulky, but for this, it should work. So again, you want your little loop a little bit longer, and then we're going to push this button right here. And I'm going to push this button here, but I want to zoom in so you can see this come through here. You ready? Watch this. Did you see it? So, I bumped it. So, here we go. So sorry, y'all. So right here, you're going to see one of them came out there, and our lower looper didn't come through. So what we're going to do, let me back up and show you. We're going to just pull a little bit more slack, just like that, and then zoom back in here and watch right here. It's going to come out of there. There it comes, just like that. So both of our loopers are threaded in what would have been like less than 60 seconds. But for purposes of showing you and talking you through, it took just a couple more minutes. So now this is the easy part. We are going to thread the needle. So again, we're going to just follow the line. This is the easy one here. Well, I would say the loopers are actually easier now since we have that air threader. And then we're just going to thread our needle. Hold on, I'll move my finger so you can see in a second. Right like that. So that's threaded. And again, I was always taught to, you can leave these loopers here, but I was just always taught, you just take them and put them underneath the presser foot, like back off at 10, 11 o'clock right over here. And then we're going to slide this back because we don't want this engaged. We want these to be able to move now. And we're going to close up our machine here and we're good to go. But first, you should always test some beforehand. So I have just some scrap fabric right here. And we're going to place that underneath our presser foot, lower that down, and we're going to test this first. Just like that. And you just want to make sure that everything looks good. And you can see everything is looking great right there. So we are going to get to it now. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit here. There you go. That way you can see. Okay, so let's talk about fabric and cutting. Super simple setting up the serger, but now let's talk about the fabric and how I changed it just a little bit when I was cutting it all. So in the instructions, if you're looking at the Stitch Motif block right here, 9-patch block, when you do, it wants you to cut out, let me back up here. It wants you, hold on, to cut out all of the little squares and sew them back together into a 9-patch. You can do that. That's no problem. I think we can make it a little bit more simpler. We can actually make it a little bit more simple. So what's nice is these blocks have a pattern to them. So this top row and this bottom row have green, light blue, dark blue. Green, light blue, dark blue. We just have to turn them when we cut them. So what I decided to do was I made strips. It wants these squares 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So we know we need them 3 1/4 wide. But how long do we need them? For this quilt, it says to use fat quarters. So in my head, I only have 22 by 18 inches to work with it. So what we can do is we can cut a strip. If you do the math for 4 of these, it's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12. About 13 inches is what 3 of these green squares should be if you had them all on one long strip like this. We just have one long strip. So I like to give myself a little extra wiggle room. So I cut strips that are 3 1/4 by 15 inches. So that way it gave me a little bit of wiggle room to square up and cut things off at the beginning and end if I made a little oops or things didn't line up exactly at the beginning or the end. So I cut out for fabric number A, I cut out 1 because this is the center one right here. We only need 1 of those. I cut out 1 3 1/2 by 15 inch strip. And that's going to be my yellow strip right here, 3 1/2 by 15 inches. Okay. So for next one, for B, it wants you to cut out 10 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So again, I know that I can get 2 strips off of my fat quarter, 3 1/4 inches by 15. So I'm going to cut 2 strips, 3 1/4 by 15. That is going to be, what color did I do that? I did that the pink one. So I have 2 of these 3 1/4 by 15 inch strips. Then for letter C, again, it's the same thing. We want 3 1/4 and we need 2 of those. So 3 1/4 by 15, and that's going to be my blue strip. So I have 2, I'm getting it to show you, 2 blue strips, 3 1/4 by 15. And then for the light blue, so the light blue is what we have the most of, and I did white with that. So I actually cut 4 strips, 3 1/4 by 15. And the reason I did that is I'm going to group all of these together so that I can subcut them. And I've actually already done some of them like that because it's just repeating the process 3 times, but I wanted to show you. So let's break that down a little bit more, and I'm going to physically show it to you with the fabric that I have. So if we look at our quilt block right here, I want these in this order. So I want the green, the light blue, and the dark blue, which in my case, I wrote on the side what those colors were. So the green is my pink. So I want a pink row. And then my light blue is white. So I'm going to take a white piece, and that's going to be next. And then my dark blue is what I did for that. So I've got my blue strip here. So that's basically what I already did here. I sewed these strips together and then subcut them. So now I have my first and second row of my 9-patch ready to go, just like that. So let's sew these together. We want to sew them right sides together. So this white has a speckle on it. I want to make sure I get the right side of it. Is it this side? This side here. Okay, so we're going to put these right sides together, and we're going to just serge down this row of 15 inches right here. So let's come right back over here and serge this down. So again, we're not cutting any of our fabric as we go. We're just using the blade as your guide. So keep that in mind as you're going. You can shave, like the little bitty threads that start to come off, things like that. That's okay to do that. So just like that, I have my first strip sewn together. So we are going to press this in just a minute, but let's sew this next piece on first. So now I want my blue piece to my white piece. So we're going to put those right sides together and serge down that side. So let's line up our ends right here. Place that under there, make sure everything's lined up, and serge down. There we go. So here is our long strip that we are going to subcut in a minute. And I have serged that together. That's a 1/4 inch seam allowance I have here. And you can do the math if you would like to. So let's talk through that math really quick. So if these strips are 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, that's going to give you 3, 6, 9, 9 3/4 right there. If you take a 1/2 inch here, because we have half from this blue and half from the white, and a 1/2 inch here from the pink and from the white, so that's a full inch we're taking away from our 9 3/4, you're going to have 8 3/4. So that's what that should end up being if you did your math for 3 1/4 times 3 like that. So super simple, just converting it and making it a little bit easier for us. Before I go iron this, I want to actually go ahead and do my second row. So I've done both of these rows, the top and bottom row of each block. Now we want to do this middle one. So I want my yellow in the middle and my white on the sides. Again, just making sure I've got my right side up. So same process, we're going to sew this to here and this to here, and then we're going to go press them. So there you have it. We have our second set of strips sewed together. So I'm going to go press this, but I want to talk about which way I'm going to press this. For this pink and blue one, I'm going to press it so that the seam is towards the color. And then for this yellow and white one, I'm going to press it to where the seam is towards the yellow in the middle. So I'm going to go do that, and then I will be back and we are going to subcut. All right, so I have pressed my seams to the colored side on both of these. And so now let's subcut them into those 3 1/4 inch strips. So right over here, move my instructions out of the way. I don't want to cut those. So let's square this up right here first. Got a little bit of wiggle room. So let's line up. We want to make sure we're lined up here, but then also that our straight is lined up with that seam there so that everything is straight. So just get rid of that. And now we're going to go 3 1/4. So 1, 2, 3. And again, making sure that we are lined up on our seams. And so we're going to do this for all of our pieces right here. And you should end up with you have a few extra, or I ended up with a few extra, but so I'm going to cut all these, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to put them all together. Okay, now I have all of my strips cut, and let me go back really quick. So I think I said 3 1/4 by 15. It actually needs to be 3 1/4 by 18. I'm not sure where I got 15 from. I apologize. I misspoke. 3 1/4 by 18 are what your strips should be. So let's come back over here. And if you look, we have 5 of these 9 patch blocks. So we're just going to take our pieces and line them up how they're supposed to be. So just like that. And I'm just going to layer them since they're all the same. And I should get 5 of them. So this is 2. This is 3. is 4. And this is 5. So I ended up with not any extra. I'm not sure. I think I had in my head we were doing 4 blocks, not 5. So I apologize again. It is 3 1/4 by 18 is what your strip should be. Now we are just going to serge these together and we will have our 5 9 patches. And the reason I said to press towards the color is so that those seams fold in opposite directions so that when you serge them, you've got a good finish right there. So I'm just going to start serging all of these together. And once I have all 5 blocks, I'll come back and we will talk about just assembling our finished block. All right, so what I did was I took those first 2 rows and I just chain pieced them all together. So let's cut all of this and separate these. And then we will sew the next piece to the bottom. There we go. So now we have all of these. All right, now we have all of these, and I'm going to press these once we get done. But let's just go ahead and sew these next pieces onto the bottom. Just be mindful that you want the direction to be opposite so that you have blue at this corner, blue, pink, you know, your opposite corners like that if you're doing different colors. All right, so I have squared up all of my blocks to be 8 1/2 by 8 1/2. There's like a little bit of extra that you get to cut off it. There was a little bit of wiggle room there because we want them to match up to our solid pieces like this, 8 1/2 by 8 1/2. So I like to lay out my block beforehand just so I can make sure I have it all the way that I want it, but I just don't have the space in the little bit of space that I have here. So I'm just going to show you here. Again, we just want to have this laid out just like this with the 2 9 patches, a 9 patch, and 2 9 patches with the 4 around it there. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to start sewing my strips together and I will show you the finished block once we're done. I say sewing, I'm going to serge my blocks together. So once I get this all serged together, I'll show you the finished block. So I have my 3 strips. Where do my scissors go? I have my 3 strips sewn together. And so now we are I'm going to go press those seams to the 9 patch blocks. And then we are going to sew our strips together. So we have our strips like this. I'm going to go ahead and press towards the 9 patch, and then we will come back and sew our strips together. So I'll be right back. All right, so I have my 3 strips sewn together, and this is a huge block, you guys. So now we are just going to sew all of these strips together, and we will have our finished block. So again, lay it out, make sure it's going the direction you want it to go beforehand. That way, you know, it's all going to line up just right. So let's serge this whole thing together, and then we will have our finished block. All right, and now let's see if I can get it all into view. I can't even get it all into view. We have our finished Stitch Motif 9 patch block. This is a huge block, you guys. So big right here. So I hope you enjoyed a new take on piecing together something. I think on this one, I'm actually going to do, because I didn't do anything, I wanted to use like a fun print for my big solid squares. So I'm really excited. I have some ideas in my head for some embroidery once the whole quilt is done to add onto those big squares and just give them a little bit of something extra. So for April, this was the block we did. It's a huge block, but it does not take very long to do. And especially if you do it on a serger, you can do the piecing very simple and very quick on your serger. And if you don't have a serger, that's okay. You can still do it on your normal sewing machine, just with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So thank you again. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in May as we start the next third of the year. We already are 1/3 of the way through. So thank you. I'll see you next time.